You look at where we've come in 12 months. The public are awake. I sense that everywhere I go. The reception I receive now walking down the street, people can see the problem. So many people now realising we were lied to, realising that we were telling the truth, realising these issues. And the more they look and listen, the more free speech we can express, the bigger platforms we have. Look at all the lengths they've gone to stop us. From propaganda to smears to campaigns to prison to attacks. Have I been silenced? My voice is louder now than it's ever been. It's the loudest it's ever been. It's not worked. So, whilst I feel your fear of where we're at, I also am optimistic of where we're headed. You're right in the answer about there's no solution to this without chaos. Yes, when the first European government attempt mass deportations, they will kick off. Chaos has to come then.
Tommy Robinson stood before a crowd in central London earlier this month and delivered a message that mixed defiance, grievance, and a thinly veiled call to upheaval. If you look at where we've come in 12 months, the public are awake, he told listeners, insisting that attempts to silence him had failed and predicting that only disorder, even chaos, will force political solutions such as large-scale deportations. The remarks came amid one of the largest and most contentious street mobilizations Britain has seen in years. There are two obvious tensions in the public response. To his supporters, Robinson is a galvanizer exposing an immigration and cultural crisis that mainstream politicians have ignored. To his critics, community groups, anti-racism campaigners, and much of the national press, he is a polarizing provocateur whose rallies normalize xenophobic tropes and create conditions for violence. Journalists who attended the march reported that many participants denied any alignment with the far-right label, even as chants and placards trafficked in nationalist and anti-immigrant themes. From a policy perspective, Robinson's insistence that there is no solution is a dangerous rhetorical flourish. Democracies change through institutions, elections, and debate. Urging that disorder is a necessary precursor risks legitimizing the very breakdown of rule-bound politics that many Britons fear. Equally, his framing, that increased visibility equals vindication, makes it harder for mainstream politics to address the underlying grievances he exploits. Housing pressures, public service strain, and the sense among some voters that decades of economic insecurity have left them ignored. Those are real anxieties. They are also easily redirected toward scapegoating. The policing and political fallout will be the next test. Senior police officials faced criticism over tactics and proportionality, and political leaders on both sides of the spectrum condemned the violence while disagreeing about causes and remedies. Meanwhile, civil society groups warn that the normalization of hardline language about migrants and deportations corrodes social cohesion, and that media platforms and public figures who offer Robinson big stages, directly or via amplification, shoulder responsibility for the outcomes. What happens next matters. If Robinson's narrative continues to find purchase among citizens disillusioned with mainstream options, it will force mainstream parties to decide whether to address its root causes or to bluntly counter the rhetoric. Either root demands political clarity and policy work rather than merely louder denunciations or tactical policing. For now, the image Robinson conjured in his talk, a public awake, walking behind him in the streets, will be seen very differently depending on who's watching. A sign of a reawakened public conscience, or the alarm bell of a democracy under strain.
No, look, see, we've got Arsenal Man City coming up, haven't we? Arsenal have had a bit more recovery time.
They have. It's quite important in these games, you know. 4:30 today is the kick-off at the Emirates, a key match, a staging post potentially in the title race, although it's early in the season, of course. But yeah, it seems a little bit unfair that Manchester City, and they haven't made a big deal of it, Anne, to be fair, but 66 hours ago they finished against Napoli in the Champions League. Big game. Yeah, right, they're playing against 10 men, but the schedulers weren't to know that. Arsenal had finished their game in the Champions League 2 days before. Yes, they did have to travel to Spain, but Suddenly today, City have to travel to London to face Arsenal. It's a later kick-off at 4:30. And Pep Guardiola, the City coach, has always felt, and this is somebody who's looked at it through the prism of winning tournaments, winning European tournaments with a Spanish side. He's always felt that the English clubs, the Premier League clubs, have a bit of a disadvantage in Europe because of the scheduling. So I hope it doesn't make for a lesser game in terms of quality. But if you look at this game historically over the last few years, Arsenal have held sway. I don't think City have won against them since 2020 or 2023 rather, but that's going to be a big game this afternoon. We had Manchester United winning yesterday, of course. Somebody who needed a bit of luck was Ruben Amorim, and he certainly got it in the first 5 minutes when Chelsea had their goalkeeper sent off. And I say that's luck because, all right, it's not luck in its purest form, but you can't legislate for an opposing player doing something reckless like the Chelsea goalkeeper did in the first 5 minutes. And in the Premier League these days, and you're up against 10 men, it's a little bit easier when you've got 85 minutes against that. So it's a much-needed win yesterday. We heard how the previous day he was talking about how even direction from the Pope wouldn't make him change his formation. Well, he kept faith with his formation yesterday, and it paid off. We had some fantastic games yesterday. You're asking about Bournemouth. They're up against Newcastle today, hoping to continue a decent run of form. But it was a great day.
Up against Newcastle. That sounds sort of serious.
Yeah, well, they're all serious. They're all serious. You know, just one place in the Premier League when you're finishing later on. If you win on the last day of the season, suddenly you go from, say, 14th to 12th. That can be worth about £12 million. That's just that can be goal difference. So yes, it's extremely serious. There's no doubt about that. That's because it's called the Money League for a reason.
Can we talk about KJT?
Katarina Johnson-Thompson. You left me to say it, didn't you?
I do. Do you know what? I find it
too much.
It is too much.
Too long a surname.
I find it a very hard name to say.
Well, look, she had a very hard race yesterday, and she ended up having to share bronze. She was very, very happy to do that, but this was extraordinary. It's unprecedented, particularly at this level. She was up against Talia Brooks, and they both finished, this is 7 events, on 6,581 points. That's quite extraordinary. I've never seen that before. And it's the 4th time she's medalled at this level, KJT. She wasn't actually certain at the end. She saw the scoreboard. There was no confirmation at that point. Others were congratulating her. I don't think she realised that the scoreboard at that stage represented confirmation that she shared a bronze. I mean, I've never actually heard of anyone sharing a medal before. As in two competitors, obviously you get it when it's a relay team or something like that, but that's different. You're on the same side. But extraordinary stuff yesterday.
Exactly the same time.
Yes, exactly.
Isn't that amazing?
It is. She had to beat her by 6 seconds. No, it's the points. I think it was the
points.
It was equal.
Right, yeah.
But
because 6 seconds is a lot of.
She said
a lot of ground in 6 seconds.
Oh, you can. Yeah. You see me rushing around the newsroom here in the morning. But I should say as well that Team GB are 22nd in the medal table. I think that's slightly skewed because I think there are some events to come that GB are still quite strong at. But USA leading the way, and another successful event for Team GB if they can get a few medals over the line. In the bag, sorry.
In the bag, yeah. We've got the Grand Prix.
Yeah,
I mean, Lando Norris. Yeah. He's the great British hope that gets overlooked somehow.
I completely agree with you. I mean, look, yesterday he missed a chance because, I mean, it was a chaotic race yesterday. This is the qualifying for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix this afternoon. 6 crashes in total, and that's no more than a quarter of the field of drivers. And look, there are lots of walls, there are lots of bends, there are lots of hairpins, lots of goodness knows what else, and it means that the conditions are treacherous, especially with rain, and that's what led to all the crashes. Now, what this means is that there's this fascinating race going on between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, but today they're starting on 7th and 9th on the grid, which is going to make it extremely difficult for either of them to win from that position. Now, it's not impossible, it's been done before. Max Verstappen is on pole, but I think this is going to favour Piastri because if we, as expected, neither of them win, it means it's another week gone towards the conclusion, which means that will suit Piastri because it's just, you know, I hope it doesn't work out that way. It'd be great to see a British winner. I think it'd be away from Lewis Hamilton, it'll be the first British winner, I think, since 2008 and Jenson Button.
Oh, my goodness.
But there's still a way to go yet. There's still a fair bit to go, but it should be exciting in action this afternoon.
Good. Be a good watch, that.